Hey, what up everybody? This is Stephen Breach coming to you today. I am sitting down watching WWE's Breaking Ground episode 6 entitled Road Trip, which was honestly a really good episode. At this point, I can guess that they're never going to be showing Finn Balor on the show. I think that the Breaking Ground show is definitely a proving ground where they're trying to get over certain names. That way you build a relationship between you and some of these NXT superstars before they get brought up to the main roster. You can definitely show that this show is built around Baron Corbin, Jason Jordan, Nia Jax, Carmella. These are people that are featured in almost every single episode of the show. They're definitely people that they know might need a little bit of help with you getting connected to them and how likable they are as reality TV stars, and then moving them up to the main roster. And then once they get there, they have a fan base that's behind them in order to get there. The show started off with where last week's episode ended, with basically Canyon Seaman, who is one of the directors at the NXT Performance Center, where he is sort of like talent relations, and he is firing Cal Bishop. They're terminating his contract, and Cal is being led out of the NXT Performance Center, where he will have to go off and start his new life. I was really into Cal Bishop last week, and I felt really bad. I mean, when they were running down who he was and what he really stood for in episode 4, I was really getting behind this guy to the point where I tweeted him and said, I don't know who you are. I liked how they built you up on Breaking Ground, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of you. Little did I know that because I was watching 2 episodes in the same day, the dude be getting fired an hour later. And I was upset about it. It is what it is. Definitely, they've talked about it at the NXT Performance Center up on the wall. They have a sign up there that basically talks about your spot. And basically, in order for them to bring you in to get a spot, they had to let somebody go. So you have to make use of your time there. Basically, when Albert was talking about Cal, he said basically to go out there, maybe get some work on the independent circuit, show that his shoulder is going to be be able to hold up, and show that he could be valuable to NXT or WWE, and maybe he would get another shot at coming in there and trying to figure out if he can be able to train there. From there, basically, because he's fired in sort of a public way, it's off to the side in one of the boardrooms, but I think everybody knew what he was going in there for. Everybody knew when he came out that he had been let go, and everybody's trying to, work out in the gym around him. Nia Jax breaks into tears, basically saying that, that was her friend, and it sucks to lose your friend, but you have to keep going. Baron Corbin, sort of just says, fuck it, it wasn't me. And that was it. From there, the NXT guys hit the road, where basically they traveled to Nashville and Louisville on this show. In Louisville, they ended up doing I forget the name of it, but it was a music concert festival kind of deal, much like the Aftershock was here in Sacramento. Very fun, and honestly, it was set up exactly the same way. I don't know if it was the same company or maybe WWE owns the tent, but basically the ring was set up, the whole sort of arena, I guess you can say, was set up the same way, especially with the meet and greet out there in the very front as people walked by. And it was really, really cool. I kept looking for myself, kept on thinking that it was the Sacramento show, but I'm sure that it'll be on there sooner than later. I think that the Louisville show was about a month before the Sacramento one, so maybe that show is coming up sooner than later. On the show, basically, they're talking about the fact that Bayley and Carmella are best friends. I don't know if it's Big Cass in Carmella's apartment, or if Bayley lives there too, but she comes over to the house, and basically they're saying how these girls are friends in real life, and they get ready to go out on the road together. They're talking about the fact of basically everybody knows that they're friends, and they've started this trend of Bay Mella, with basically they fist bump each other, and they tag team a lot on the NXT shows and things like that. Really, really fun stuff. Once they get to Louisville, they find out that it's really going to rain, and they're going to be out in the mud. Jason Jordan, the highlight of the show for me, went to the local Kmart where he picked up a pair of Catapult basketball shoes, which are like knockoff Jordans. I looked them up on the Kmart site. You can get them for $18. And basically, he went the knockout route because he knew that he was going to be wearing these shoes in Louisville, walking through the mud around the festival, and was just going to throw them away at the end of the day, and he didn't really need something that was going to be long term. He got a lot of crap about the shoes, but it is what it is. They talk about the fact that NXT is bringing in people from around the world. From here, we meet a new signee to NXT, training at the Performance Center, who's from Punjabi, India. His name is Lovepreet, something like that, and they basically show the guy Seaman, the talent relations guy, and William Regal, traveling around the world. They say that they travel about 100 days of the year. They didn't show it, but we know that these guys have showed up at like PWG shows and Evolve shows. But here they talk about the fact that they go to the Olympics, they go to wrestling tournaments, they go to, and here they show them going to India and actually watching, basically guys wrestle in the mud in the middle of a field. And I don't know if it's real wrestling or if it's professional wrestling, but these guys look like they could go. And they found this guy, they brought him in. He's got a look to him. Definitely, when they showed him just being himself, just showing all of his trophies off and things like that and flexing for the camera, I was like, hey, maybe they found a diamond in the rough here. And then they show him at the promo class, and he did a promo, and I just was like, oh man, this is like basically Jinder Mahal, or this was basically the Great Khali, somewhere in the middle. I mean, Jinder was able to do a promo, but it wasn't 100% convincing. Great Khali, you wish you never saw him do a promo, and he's somewhere in the middle. He's not horrible because his English isn't good. He's a little bit slow, but I don't know if it was a good promo or a bad promo. I honestly don't think I would believe it. And I think that if it was on Raw, if it was on NXT, if it was on SmackDown, I just would sort of maybe even hit the fast forward button, or I would just sort of blow it off as it is what it is. We go back out on the road, basically where Albert comes to Bayley with an idea to try to make her more to the company, and basically is trying to teach Bayley to actually be a coach or an agent out on the road. And he puts Bayley in charge of the Carmella versus Eva Marie match that they're going to be doing, where she's going to walk them through and help them plan out what's going to be a good match. She actually gets to sit down, and she actually gets to be on the not on the commentary team, but on the back, watching on the monitors, where she has the headset on, where she's able to actually talk with the other members of the NXT team, and she pulls off a pretty good match. Bayley and Carmella go out there. I apologize. Carmella and Eva Marie go out there, and they pull off a pretty good match there in front of the crowd in Louisville. From there, they head to Nashville. And Nashville is more of an actual real show. You can actually see this on Brandon Hodges' Day in the Life video, on his WWE Shop Champion challenge here. No, I just fucked his name up. WWE Shop Champion channel here on YouTube. And this was a cool atmosphere. I love the fact that the arena that they were in actually had a balcony. Always makes for a good show when you have a balcony. And I'm sure it was loud, and it was really crazy in there. And it would have been a fun show to be at. It's just basically a show. They're in there, they're out of there. They show them going to a mental hospital, where it's supposed to be like, they're scaring the pants off of you. I'm not the biggest fan of ghost shows, and I know that they only showed it for a couple of minutes, but it just wasn't for me. From there, they show Baron Corbin going out on the town in Nashville. He says it's one of his favorite towns to visit. Baron Corbin goes to they called it an oddity shop, and it's not really a supernatural shop if you don't know what it is, but it's for people who love things of the paranormal. Basically Baron Corbin buys a human brain specimen from a mental hospital, as well as buying a chunk out of somebody's skull. that he buys for his collection of weird shit. But it was very weird seeing him shop in this store. It would have been like if they let me loose in the WrestleMania Superstore. He just was a kid in the candy store. He was loving everything that he was looking at. Pretty fun stuff. As they come to a conclusion on the NXT show, they're back at the show in Nashville, and we see another match between Carmella and Eva Marie. And as the show comes to a close, we see Carmella needing medical attention. The story that came out from the show was that Carmella had suffered a concussion because Eva Marie was not 100% ready to be wrestling at this time. We'll see where they pick up with this episode when episode 7 comes back. But this was a good episode. It was fun stuff. Definitely it would be cool if they showed Samoa Joe, if they showed Finn Balor. But it's good. If you're a fan of Jason Jordan and others in NXT, you're going to like getting to see these guys on a more personal level.